Apparently, shoot first and ask questions later is the new modus operandi from the White House after getting humiliated by a Chinese spy balloon 2 weeks ago. Sadly, this kind of flat-footed response, it isn't limited to the sky. So far, there has been no real effort to curtail the Chinese-based app TikTok, as Chinese hackers pose a growing threat to Americans. Meanwhile, in East Palestine, Ohio, the administration is slow-walking FEMA assistance. And Pothole Pete, well, he's nowhere to be found. Joining us now with reaction, host of the Monica Crowley podcast, Monica Crowley, along with Fox News contributor Tammy Bruce. Tammy, let me go to you first, because I got to tell you, this is not a good look for an administration. I know they have a new chief of staff, but I'm telling you, the week could not have been worse for the Biden administration.
Well, and partly that's because they were exposed, right? The Chinese balloon itself, CBS is reporting that we saw it launch from China, and we were watching it the entire way until it turned left when it went over Guam and came up to Alaska. So I don't know what's worse, is that we knew and we did nothing and allowed it to traverse, or we didn't know. But the bottom line is that it seems clear that we did know and that they didn't expect us to find out. If it wasn't for an intrepid Billings Gazette photographer who happened to look up and said, is that a bus? Or is it Superman, right? I mean, what is this in the sky? They took a picture, it gets in the Billings Gazette, and it blows up what the Biden administration had planned, which was to say nothing. And in this, I think, it's also not unexpected. Because when we say shoot first and ask questions later, it immediately reminded me, suddenly them being trigger happy with shooting things out of the sky without knowing what they were, reminded me horribly of a very deadly example of that in Afghanistan during the withdrawal, when we killed 10 civilians, including 7 children, and we were told it was to stop another attack on the airport. And it was an aid worker who was working with USAID agency and his family. So this is what the Biden administration has been doing from the beginning, ranging from, as you've noted, the horrible response when it comes to the East Palestine train wreck, but it really is a chemical spill. The lack of reaction to that. This is from identity politics, frankly. It's a narrative that matters before governing. The American people don't matter at all. This is about maneuvering people as chess pieces, and people die as a result, and our national security clearly is at great risk in the meantime.
I mean, Monica, they could not have come up with a more convoluted story. Well, we can't shoot it over the land. Then they do shoot it over land. Then they say they don't know what the balloon is, but they do know what the balloon is. It passed over Alaska. It didn't pass over Alaska. We may never recover it. They bring the senators and the House members in for a classified briefing, and every one of them walked out of there and said, we have more questions now than ever before.
Yeah, you know, I think most people understand this, if anybody has ever lied, when you lie, you got to keep your story straight. And it becomes increasingly difficult to keep a lie straight because you forget who you've told and what stories that you've told. This administration lies nonstop, so it's not a surprise that they're lying about critical national security issues, including involving this Chinese aerial surveillance craft, which is what it is. We can call it a cute name, spy balloon, but this was a CCP, PLA, aerial surveillance tool. They're gathering information. They're gathering intelligence all the time about the United States, sensitive military and nuclear sites, how we react. They're constantly probing this administration. To what end? And I think that's a really dangerous and terrifying question here, is that the CCP appears ready to move, whether it's on Taiwan, whether it's on America's interests around the world, whether it's on our homeland. We don't know. But what we do know is that they are calculating that they have a limited window of opportunity while we have a thoroughly compromised American president who is definitely compromised by the CCP, but is also weak and is turning America into a lame player on the global scene. And so their intent is for global domination. And we've got a president who is completely ill-prepared and unwilling to act to defend the homeland and America's interests around the world. That's how dangerous this is.
Well, I mean, you're talking about the compromise. I mean, one of the obvious questions that was thrown out, Tabby, to the president, listen to how he answers. Well, listen to this clip. I want to get your reaction to it.
Thank you very much.
Sir, the question was it? There's been criticism. There's been criticism that this was. There's been criticism that this.
China compromised by your family's business relations.
Sir, Mr. President, there has been criticism.
Break,
Did you overreact?
Mr. President, there has been criticism that this was an overreaction that was done because of political pressure.
Okay. You can come to my office and ask the question when they have more polite people.
I mean, there's the president getting the question, are you compromised? And he's, oh, come on, man, that's the answer?
Yeah, this is what happens when you've gotten away with so much because you've been governing from a basement. And when you have no real care about the actual impact, and normally the media protects them, and they still tend to protect him. Even the news coverage of what was happening and what is happening in East Palestine is really quite muted. Because and you got Pete Buttigieg, he makes his rounds and he's not really challenged when he calls it a train derailment. Well, it was, but again, it's a chemical disaster, and that's affecting people's lives. So this is, again, an element of what we've seen over and over and over again with Joe Biden. It's not an accident. They're not having a bad day. And when you've got, reporters saying, are you compromised? What's going on here? And then they conveniently, and this is what Americans don't like this, shooting these things down over water. The Lake Huron balloon or object, we believe, was the one they saw in Montana the night before. And then they just wait until they can shoot it down. And it took 2 shots. So there was a Sidewinder missile that went astray because we missed an object, as far as we know, that was not shooting back. There's so many questions that we have to ask here, and I trust that the Republicans in the House are going to do so. $1 million, $500,000 for each missile, a jet. Maybe it's the school project we shot down, but my goodness, isn't this a guy buying a Corvette because he's trying to make up for something he doesn't have?
Yeah. And Monica, the idea that the White House would not authorize a FEMA declaration asked for by the governor of one of the worst chemical and spills, we still don't know the full extent of it. FEMA is there. It's the Federal Emergency Management Agency. That is not a good look to turn down the request of a state. I mean, it's just a couple miles from Pennsylvania. It's over there in eastern Ohio, but that is a really bad look. And it's not helpful to the people who have all kinds of questions about their health.
Well, this is what you get when you get America last. We had America first under President Trump, and under President Biden, we've got America last, and that means Americans last. I mean, at the same time that we have this ecological catastrophe in the heartland of America, where our fellow Americans are really suffering in terms of air quality, water quality. They can't live their lives. They can't take a shower. They can't drink from the tap. While we have this ecological disaster going on, this leadership is actually requesting more money for Ukraine. So this tells you exactly how much this White House, this administration, the regime, how much they hate the American people who do not vote for them, who do not support their agenda. They show it in their actions constantly. And to deny the state of Ohio an emergency declaration of catastrophe so that federal funds, which Tammy and I and you don't mind paying for our fellow Americans when they're facing this kind of disaster, but to deny the state of Ohio, which is a red state, and it backs up to Biden's, home state, Scranton, Pennsylvania, to deny them these funds. And this kind of federal government support is absolutely outrageous, but it should surprise nobody at this point.
And in the meantime, we're paying for grief counselors, for federal workers, for the Bureau of Land Management who have emotional upset over the destruction of the ecology and of nature. So we're willing to pay for that. Yeah. But we're not willing to pay to help the people of East Palestine or Americans, whatever their political party, who are struck by a man-made disaster here.
Yeah,
and by the
you
way,
go to
by the way,
FEMA.
where's
If you
Al
go to
Gore?
FEMA,
Where's Al Gore? Where's Al Gore? Where's Greta? Where's Michael Moore? All of these people that were constantly screaming about the environment, climate, protecting people, especially Michael Moore in the heartland. Where are these people? They're dead silent. Why?
Well, listen,
because it's not attuned to the political narrative.
Well, and this is the problem. The first 48 hours of this disaster are the most imperative. And we pay billions of dollars as the American people to be right there and have that expertise so they can support the states, the little communities like in East Palestine. And they're not there. It is 2 weeks since it has happened. Now they're going to put in a few people and some dollars, but it's coming way too late. Monica and Tammy, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.